Hey, what's going on guys? John here, and today I'm going to do a video review for the Logitech G923 steering wheel. In this video, I'll just kind of walk you through the setup of this. I'll talk a little bit about some of the functionality, and then we'll do a little bit of a comparison towards the last generation, the G920 steering wheel, which I also have here in my space. So let's kind of get into it. In terms of actual setup and installation, it's fairly straightforward. You have several wires that come through on the back here. There's actually 3 of them. Each of these will basically be for power, connecting via USB, as well as additional connections you could use, such as like utilizing say a shifter. I have an aftermarket shifter here, but I've also got the Logitech shifter here on this other setup I have. So really matches the steering wheel quite nicely if you decide to pick that up, but it is an additional accessory. This particular wheel has like a blue ribbon here on the top, so a nice aesthetic versus the silver on the G920. You also have some additional buttons with this upgrade. You basically have a large button here as well as the plus and the minus here. Comparing this to the G920, you pretty much have all of the exact same controls. You've got your Y, X, A, and B buttons, which will emulate a controller. If you connect this to, say, like an Xbox or a PC, it's going to basically emulate all of that, just as it would on a normal controller. You have your D-pad, you have your basically start, select type buttons, and then you have this LSB as well as R SB button, so you could use those for additional functionality. You do also have your paddle shifters, so these work quite well for many sim games if you're going to be racing a lot. I haven't tested this out with a ton of games yet, but the main ones have been arcade games that I tested with an emulator called Technoparrot, and then I also have tested out games like Forza, Snow Runner, and a few others, and everything works really, really well with this steering wheel. In terms of mounting, you have these 2 pieces here. These basically can be pushed down once you've actually mounted this, but there's basically a clip that comes in and pushes onto, in this case, the plate. And for this particular steering wheel, what I do recommend, especially if you're going to use a racing sim setup like this, I would recommend mounting the actual steering wheel column here into the actual plate, because the mounts here basically can just slide off. So if you're being even moderately aggressive with the wheel, it could just slide off with the default kind of mounting option here. Overall, I'm very, very happy with the steering wheel. I'd say it gives a pretty realistic effect. I was able to get this nice racing sim setup here. Of course, you've also got your pedals. This pretty much hasn't changed, as you can see, almost nearly identical from the G920. You have your clutch, brake, and gas. Each of these obviously has a little bit different feel. The brake is a little bit stiffer than the gas. Very easy to configure this in all the games, and I haven't had any problems. With this setup, I was able to mount just a single 27-inch monitor here using a monitor arm I had on this frame. And then with this setup, we actually have a larger 55-inch TV here in the space, so I kind of set these up differently just based on what I had for equipment and hardware. Overall, no real issues setting up the Logitech G Hub software. That's basically Logitech software. You can connect all of Logitech's tools like webcams, lights, mouse, anything like that you might have, all controlled and basically configured right within that software. So yeah, overall, very, very happy with the steering wheel. One of the other main differences I did want to mention with this before we wrap this up is with the G923, you get something called TRUEFORCE, which the G920 did not offer. So the main difference is that this offers a little bit more of a realistic force feedback. You know, from my testing, while I do notice some difference in it, it's not necessarily substantial that, you know, if you already have the G920, it may or may not be worth it for you to upgrade to this, and probably is going to be a very minor difference for you. Overall, still very happy with this. If you're looking to pick one of these wheels up, I would say definitely go with the G923, and I don't think you'll regret it. Anyway, thanks for checking out the video review, and I hope you found it helpful.